morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we are back with the third game from the first round of the Dragon Gym Challenge. That lovely tournament that Dragon Shield have helped put together, along with myself and the lovely Stefan Eriksson. In this video, we've got Pablo Meza. You might know him from his Tablemon YouTube channel. He is playing a lightning deck using products like this. It's a fun one. And we've got the lovely Jack Old that you might know from his channel Omnipoke. And he's playing a fire deck using lovely products like this. Do make sure you check out the affiliate links in the description if you want to get your hand on these sleeves, these playmats, etc. That is the best way to do so. We've already put 2 players into the second round. It's time to put a third. So grab yourselves a nice cold beverage and enjoy. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so we are off. We've got Pablo, he is on the top. We've got Jack, he is on the bottom. We've got Lightning, we've got Fire. We are off. And there's actually an Ordino active for Pablo here, which is one we don't see all that often. But if it's active, you get to draw a card, so that ain't too bad. We've got Jack on the bottom here. He's flipped over a Score Bunny. No, it's not, sorry. It is Score Bunny. It is Score Bunny. And it is showing us that there is going to be a Cinderace. So he drops a Great Ball, goes about searching through, trying to find some cards, see what he's going to go for here. And we've got the issue of Stage 2s in the previous round where we saw Josh against Sierra. All previous rounds will be in the description. We did have a few people when I put it up and we watched it live suggesting that Stage 2s are going to be slightly underpowered in this format. Jack apparently disagrees. Now he does go and get himself a Volcanion. And I don't think that's going to be a particularly unusual thing, shall we say. Volcanion here. Now, it's better if you go second, actually. But if there's 4 energy on the field and 2 of them are on Volcanion, you're doing 110 damage. That's quite a bit. So, yeah. Volcanion was kind of a no-brainer. So, Pablo goes for an Oranguru down there and just gets to draw a card. But he's also got to put a card from his hand on top of his deck. And we see Bill's Analysis coming down here. Not a card. Well, it actually does see a fair bit of play. It saw a bit when Team Up came out. Seen a fair bit less since then. But you look at the top 7 cards of your deck. Reveal 2 trainer cards you find there. Put them into your hand. Shuffle the other cards into your deck. So it looks like he's gone for Switch and Quick Ball. He's using the old print of Quick Ball, but it's still a perfectly legal Quick Ball to use. So he plays a Quick Ball, he's going to discard a card from his hand, he's then going to search himself any basic Pokemon, and he drops an energy retrieval for the privilege there. And oh, we've got Zapdos straight away. I mean, Zapdos is ridiculous in this particular format. As long as you've got enough switching, which is an issue. Remember, you're only allowed to play 2 of each individual card. There's no EXs, there's no GXs. And we're playing standard format. And that's about it. Except for we've given each player a typing. You'll see the lovely Dragon Shield sleeves here representing it. Oh, and we've got Magnemite there. So we've got a 2 Stage 2s. Oh, but he gets Zapdos out immediately and gets the KO on Score Bunny. You've got to have more of your typing than colorless. That's an important rule. So Pablo straight away takes out the Score Bunny, and you see one of the potential downsides if you're playing a Stage 2 deck here. If your opponent is able to take out your basics, and Zapdos is phenomenal at that, yeah. And you'll notice Pablo's probably built his deck to switch in and out of the active regularly, which is probably why he's playing Ordino there. He can only play colorless or lightning. There's no Jirachi or any of that. Ordino lets him draw a card. No, it's not as good as Jirachi, but in this format where Pablo's only allowed to play colorless or lightning cards, you know what? That'll do, pig. That'll do. So we do see Jack dropping a Cynthia here. He's going to shuffle his hand into his deck. He's going to draw a new hand of 6 cards. And Ditto Prism Star. Ditto Prism Star is one of those we just expect to be popping up in basically every deck here. Unless you're able to go all basic, it's just too gosh darn good. It's just ridiculous. You can evolve it into any Stage 1 Pokemon you like. It's nuts. So, why would you not, quite frankly? I don't know that Pablo's playing one or not. but I think it's probably a fairly safe bet that he will be. So we do see, now there wasn't a second attachment there from Jack. What he did was he used Volcanian's attack to get an energy onto Ditto. Oh, we see Xurkitree coming down here from Pablo, and there are some good basic Lightning Pokemon. Lightning was a type, when I put out about this tournament, a lot of people were talking about Psychic as being super strong. Fire was one that people seem to really enjoy. We see Oranguru's ability coming down again there. But don't sleep on Lightning. We got Tapu Koko Prism Star to accelerate energy. We've got Thunder Mountain to reduce your attack cost. But we got stuff like Xurkitree and Zapdos here that are really good. Though it looks like Xurkitree's not made it onto the field yet. Xurkitree, 1 lightning energy, 20 damage plus confusion. Free energy, 100 damage. But if you've got exactly 3 prize cards remaining, paralysis. Now, annoyingly for Pablo, that Zapdos has not gotten in and out of the active, so all he's actually able to do there is just the 10 damage to the active Volcanion. Jack does get the evolution into the stage 1 there, which is very, very nice. He's hopefully on for a Cinderace next turn, and he drops himself a Professor Magnolia here, just to discard his hand, draw 7 cards, make things that little bit easier. So that's a good thing. But he needs to get something rolling quickly. Oh, wait, no. He's going to be able to get the KO this turn. Of course he is. Now, he was actually really, really, fortunate. But it was good that he managed to use Volcania's attack last turn. That put free energy on the field. Pablo not being able to get a KO means that Jack, with his automatic KO this turn, or his usual KO, and he's got Giant Half down, so he's going to get the energy, means that he's now going to have 4 energy on the field, which means that Volcanion is going to hit for 110, which is going to take down that Zapdos, and things are starting to look really good for Jack here. Because if we have a look at both sides of the board, Jack has got a Volcanion, which is going to be hitting for a lot of damage, 110, and he's got a Cinderace potentially rolling in the near future. Whereas Pablo's got a Magnemite, but it's unevolved, an Oranguru, but that's a support Pokemon, a Tapu Koko Prism Star, but that's a support Pokemon. He hasn't really got, at the moment, and this might all change this turn, he doesn't have a viable attacker. He does have Audino to allow him to draw a card, and that's lovely. But he's going to need something sooner rather than later here. He's going to need something rolling. Now, I believe that is a Growlithe that he's got on the board, ready to evolve into Arcanine, should he so wish in the near future. And he's got himself a Salandit on the bench, ready to evolve into a Salazzle. The Arcanine is the one that does pretty good damage while accelerating energy, and the Salazzle is the one that lets you discard a fire energy from your hand and draw 3 cards. It's a good draw engine for fire decks. Now, you will notice here that Pablo is actually dropping a Rosa. I love Rosa in this format, because it's all single prize Pokemon. You've got to take 6 KOs in order to actually win the game. And if a Pokemon was KO'd last turn, Rosa lets you search for a trainer, Pokemon, and a basic energy. So clearly Pablo here has gone for Candy, Magnezone, Energy. He still needs a viable attacker, and it looks like he's actually attacking with Tapu Koko Prism Star. Usually Tapu Koko Prism Star is on the bench to be Lost Zoned and accelerate energy, but beggars can't be choosers. Free energy, 120 is fine. He's got the energy on here, and he's going to get a one-hit KO on Volcanion. Volcanion sitting there with 120 HP, with 10 damage already on. And now we've actually seen a pretty much 180 reversal in a single turn, which is kind of a little bit nuts here. He's gone and taken out the Volcanion, and Jack doesn't have a Cinderace yet. Whereas now Pablo's got a Tapu Koko hitting for 120 with a Magnezone to accelerate as much energy as he likes, and we've literally just seen a 180. When Jack took that last KO, he had a good attacker ready, a stage 1 about to evolve into a stage 2, while Pablo had no viable attacker. Pablo's now got a stage 2 that accelerates energy, an attacker that can basically one-hit anything that Jack's got on the board, and Jack doesn't have the stage 2, and he doesn't have an attacker. Now also remember, we are limited, as I've said, to 2 of each particular card in this format, so we're gonna need to find those welder if we're Jack. Jack needs to get hold of those welder sooner rather than later. And he hasn't found the welder yet. So, good luck, Jack. Because he needs to draw into those welder. Now, he has drawn a poker gear, which does let him look at the top 7 cards of his deck, find a supporter card, put it in his hand. But it looks like it's a Cynthia. It does not look like it's a welder. And he needs to start getting that energy on the field. The issue here is that Pablo has a Pokemon which is ready to take one-hit KOs. And essentially, if Jack doesn't respond, Pablo is just going to one-hit, and that'll be the game. That's 4 prizes. At the moment, the onus is on Jack to turn this around and find an answer to what Pablo's doing. Otherwise, Pablo is just going to roll through him using his Tapu Koko Prism Star. It's not like Jack doesn't have the options, but none of it's rolling. Arcanine, great attacker, accelerates energy, can KO Tapu Koko, but he's got a Growlithe with 1 energy on. That's not enough. That's not going to do it. Similarly, Cinderace, good Pokemon, can one-hit KO Tapu Koko Prism Star, but he doesn't have Cinderace. He's got Raboot. Now, the good news is that Cinderace has got the ability whereby when it moves from the bench to the active, you get to attach 2 energy to it. So if he's able to just get that Cinderace and evolve up, and then he can get the Salandit out of the active, as he moves up, he's going to get the 2 energy on, hit 190, and then we're back to Jack being in a great position. Important to note that that Salandit, I believe, has a retreat cost of 1. It does. It's the one from Dragon Majesty, and it does have a retreat cost of 1. So we're good in that regard. Now it looks like we've got Fiery Flint finding 4 energies here, but all he really needs is a Cinderace. A Cinderace will turn this game around. Cinderace will... Okay, there's a Salandit. Oh, sorry, a Salazzle. So now he can discard one of those Fire Energy and draw 3 cards. You can say he's not trying. He is doing everything he can to find that Cinderace. And that is going to be the turning point of this game. I mean, I know we've just had 2 turning points in quick succession, but this will be another quick turning point. Because Pablo doesn't have an attacker ready to roll right now. Not one that can take out a Cinderace anyway. Cinderace, I mean, it's a stage 2. It's moderately beefy, right? It's coming in with 170 HP. Okay, now we got the Cinderace. That's huge. So now he moves the Cinderace into the active. He's able to get 2 more fire energy out onto the Cinderace. So now he should be hitting for 100. Well, he will be hitting for 190. Now he does have to discard those 2 energy, but I don't believe he's actually... Oh, and he's got the Arcanine as well. But I don't think he's actually played any welder yet. I could be wrong, but I don't think he's used a welder. Which means that he's potentially got 2 turns of welder, or he can get the Cinderace out of the active and maybe attack with Arcanine, but Arcanine's not a single energy attacker. Arcanine really needs 3 energy to do 120 and accelerate 2 energy. Now the good news for Pablo is he's got 2 of those Xurkitree down. The bad news is he's not doing enough. When he's got 3 prizes remaining, he's doing 100 damage plus paralysis. So after he takes another KO, it's really good. But as it stands at the moment, that Xurkitree can either do 20 in confusion, but Jack can just retreat the Cinderace, or he can do 100, but 100 isn't going to KO Cinderace. And we saw this in the game with Sierra against Josh. Like I say, the previous games are in the description. Please go and check them out. They're really fun games. And, you know, support the tournament. We saw in the game with Josh against Sierra, when one player can 1-hit KO and the other one is 2-hit KOing, the 1-hit KOing deck is going to win. Has Pablo run out of 1-hit KO options? Maybe. He brings the Xurkitree active. Does he have free energy or just the one? Just the one. And there's no reason for Jack to attack with Cinderace here. Either he's got a switch, and then he switches, and then gets Cinderace in the active, getting the 2 energy on, but the confusion's gone away. Or he's got a Welder, in which case he retreats the Cinderace, and Welders onto Arcanine, and gets a 1-hit KO while accelerating 2 energy. There's no way Jack attacks with Cinderace here. So that confusion becomes basically irrelevant. You'll notice it was 50, I assume, that Pablo dropped an Electro Power. Now, he does have the Welder here. So you've got to think Welder onto the Arcanine, retreat the Cinderace that has a retreat cost of 1, and then get the KO while putting 2 energy onto the Cinderace, or maybe even just 1, and then Cinderace can use the ability to get the other energy on, so Jack's got a KO this turn and a guaranteed KO next turn. And I think we're at that point of the game where Jack has almost got this sewn up. Not entirely, but I mean, this is probably the point where Pablo is seriously thinking about whether he can attack with Magnezone. Now, I'm not saying he wants to attack with Magnezone. I'm saying he's just got to the point where he needs to consider it. The problem is it does 130, and 130 isn't enough to KO Arcanine. It is enough to KO Cinderace now that it's got 50 damage on. Although, with an Electro Power, he would get the KO onto Arcanine, so that is important to note. The other thing is that Jack has got his Salazzle, so he's drawing cards. He's just dropped a Vulpix for potential gusting next turn, and he's got his Victini that for 2 energy does 20 damage for each basic energy in your discard. So Jack is really building up the attackers. And I talk about this a lot when I'm commentating, but when we look at the board here, we need to be looking at the route to victory. And unfortunately, the route to victory for Jack is fairly easy. Take a KO with Cinderace, take a KO with Arcanine, take a KO with either Cinderace or Victini Prism Star. Probably Cinderace if I'm honest with you, and that's game. Where's the route for victory for Pablo? And I don't know where it is. He can KO the Cinderace with Magnezone. He can KO the Arcanine with an Electro Power. But that's it. And I think he's only got 1 Electro Power left. So we do see an Evolution Incense coming down. This is for a second Arcanine. I love this play. Remember, Cinderace can accelerate 2 energy as it moves up to the active. It needs freeze so you can evolve from your hand. So you don't really need to accelerate the energy from Arcanine onto Cinderace. You're better off accelerating the energy from Arcanine onto Arcanine. Especially given that, well, everything but Magnezone will be 1-hit KO'd by Arcanine's Grand Flame anyway. So I adore that play from Jack. There was no point putting the energy on the Cinderace. And I think we're basically done here. We might keep it going for another turn or two. I did mention this in previous games. This is an unusual format with different rules, which means you can't look at your opponent and go, oh, they're playing Zacian ADP. I can guess 90 to 95% of their list with perfect accuracy. It is worth playing out the game, even when you know you've lost, to try and get the information you need to try and win game 2. That's the important thing here. So that's probably what Pablo's doing. I don't think he's got a great chance of winning this game, because even if he starts taking KOs, he's behind on prizes, and his board state is significantly worse. Jack almost doesn't even if Pablo drops a reset stamp here, Jack basically needs 1 energy from his hand for the Cinderace. And he's got Giant Half on the board. So, does it really matter? No. No, it doesn't. Maybe if Pablo can take a prize and then paralyze and take another prize, that's basically his route to victory. But even then, we see a normal rod coming down here, or an ordinary rod, just getting a couple Pokemon, couple energy back into Pablo's deck. But I don't see his way back from here. I'm not entirely sure So, yeah. I mean, those Xurkitree are good attackers, but those Xurkitree are good attackers on evolving Pokemon, when you're getting the paralysis, when you're combining it with electro power, etc. I'm wondering where the beef in Pablo's deck comes in. Because he needs something that can one-hit KO an Arcanine or a Cinderace. And I'm not sure this is happening. One thing I do like, some of the feedback I've gotten from people watching, and by the way, anyone watching, I've had loads of tweets and stuff from people suggesting improvements to the format. You rock. Thank you very much. Keep it coming. If you've got feedback about this format and how we can make these games better, please let me know. I love hearing stuff like that, and I adore anyone that takes the time to get in touch with stuff like that. Even if I don't have the time to reply to everyone individually, please know that I've read your comments and I love it. Okay, Pablo started attacking with Ordino here. That is not a good sign. It does 30 damage. Yeah. Also heals 30, but Jack's going to be one-hit KOing. And Jack will just get a KO on the Arcanine here while accelerating energy. Presumably onto Victini? But he could put the energy on Cinderace now to save having to use the ability later. Yeah. The other thing is, of course, it's all very well and good saying, oh, you can accelerate the energy using Cinderace's ability, but if you've already put all the energy from the discard onto other Pokemon using Arcanine, and there is no energy in the discard, that doesn't leave Cinderace many options. So what we probably saw from Jack there was, yeah, I've got to accelerate the energy on Cinderace now, but because there's going to be no energy left in the discard when I put it active. And it does look like with one prize remaining for Jack, Pablo has conceded. Jack's board is too gosh darn strong, and we are going off to game 2. So the point I was saying a minute ago was about stage 2s. People saying that stage 2s, because you can only play 2 of each card, that's 2 of the basic, 2 of the stage 1, 2 of the stage 2, 2 of the rare candy, etc., that stage 2s might not work in this format. But in game 1, we saw David get his Obstagoon out, and that's without rare candy. Josh didn't play any stage 2s. In the second game, we saw Toby. Oh no, and Toby got his Rillaboom as well, although that was a bit slower. In game 2, we saw Sierra get her Metagross out. Josh didn't play any stage 2s. And then in this game, we saw Pablo get his Magnezone, and we saw Jack get his Cinderace. So a lot of these players are playing stage 2s, and a lot of them are getting them rolling. We saw Pablo threaten to ruin that plan early on in the first game here, as he, on turn 1, uses Zapdos to take out a Score Bunny, but Jack was able to recover from that. Jack's deck does seem very strong. Arcanine and Cinderace are very bulky for this format and do lots of damage. Now, this is not a bad attacker from Pablo. 20 damage plus Confusion is a great turn 1 attack. Jack, for his money, he's just got a Growlithe and a Salandit, so they are ready to evolve in the future if he so wishes. But yeah, if anyone's got any feedback on the format, on the rules, etc., we would hope to be able to do something like this again. We'd like to be able to do this tournament, once or twice a year maybe. So if you've got feedback on the rules, also, I should have said this in previous games, if there are other streamers, casters, commentators, etc., that you would love to see featured in this kind of tournament in the future, let me know in the comment section. Maybe we'll get them on. Just to be clear, we're not announcing anything yet, but I like this. This is fun, so, might be worth doing it again. And community interaction is fun. I'd love to change the rules and change the roster based on the feedback of you guys watching. That would be awesome. So Jack does go and get a Score Bunny down there. It really does look like the dragon on Jack's playmat is judging him. Huh. Really is. Also, I probably should have said this, in between games or whatever. Don't forget Dragon Shield products, TCGPlayer links in the description, all of that. These mats are awesome. And every time I put one of these games up, I get like 20 messages going, oh my god, those mats are awesome. Where do I get them? Links in the description, dudes. Links in the description. So Pablo drops a Bill's Analysis here. That's the one we saw a moment ago. Lets him look at the top 7 cards of his deck and find a couple of trainer cards and discard the rest. Shuffle the other back into your deck. I'm thinking of cards like Hapu and Sage's Training. They discard. Bill's Analysis does not. He gets himself a switch. He gets himself a Volkner. Volkner's going to be good for next turn. It's just not a good setup for Pablo here. And bearing in mind, Pablo's a game down, right? Jack won game 1. Pablo really needs to turn this around. And as it stands at the moment, it's not looking amazing for Pablo. He's not in a great position. Yeah, he does 20 damage and confusion, but Jack goes and evolves into his Salazzle. He plays an Evolution Incense. No, scrap that. 2 Evolution Incense. Raboot and Arcanine, maybe? They would be good plays right now, because he's got 2 ready to evolve. Looks like he's gone Cinderace, and I want to say that's Raboot underneath it. So I'm willing to guess at this stage that he's probably got the Arcanine in hand, because you know he wants to evolve that Arcanine in the active. Get a bit more bulk, get a bit more HP, and all of that. So he does drop an energy with the Salazzle, draw 3 cards. Most of the time, we generally don't use cards like Evolution Incense to search evolutions until we're going to play them, because there's always a risk our opponent's going to drop something like a Reset Stamp or a Marnie, and then we're not going to be able to actually do it. We're not going to be able to have that evolution, and we've just wasted the Evolution Incense. But he's just watched Pablo get a Volkner off a Bill's analysis, and Reset Stamp will give him a new hand of 6 cards, so he probably thinks it's a risk worth taking. And he does have the Arcanine in hand, like we suggested he probably did. Oh, he's got a Cynthia! Okay. So that means the Evolution Incense for the Cinderace was actually wasted. He searched for a Pokemon, discarding the Evolution Incense, didn't evolve it up, and then just shuffled it back into his deck. Why would he do that? Because he wanted to draw cards with Salazzle. And playing the double Evolution Incense made his deck smaller, which gave him a greater chance of drawing cards with Salazzle, and then he must have drawn the Cynthia off the Salazzle, and then obviously you're going to play it. Yes, he wasted the Evolution Incense in hindsight, but remember, the reason to play the double Evolution Incense there was to thin your deck as much as you can to increase your chance of drawing what you want off Salazzle. Fine, yeah, he wasted the Evolution Incense, but with his hand, and we couldn't see his hand, but presumably with it as it was at the time, seems like that was a pretty good play regardless. Otherwise, he might not have drawn the Cynthia off of the Salazzle, and then he's got a dead hand next turn. So he does get a Volcanion down, he gets a Vulpix down, and we're back over to Pablo, and we do see the Volkner coming straight down here. It was a pretty good prediction, assuming that he assumed Pablo was going to have Volkner. That's a pretty good prediction. So we do see a Quick Ball coming down here, lets him discard a card from his hand, search his deck for a basic, and he needs a basic right now. As it stands at the moment, if Jack's got a Welder, and that's another reason why you play the Cynthia, because Cynthia might get you a Welder this turn. If Jack drops a Welder, he is going to be able to get a KO on that Xurkitree. Having said that, Pablo could confuse again, and then Jack's having a flip to get a KO. But then again, if it's Pablo's only Pokemon, that would be worth the flip. Oh, double Custom Catcher! Hard to pull off in a format where you're only actually allowed to play 2. You got to think it's on the Raboot here, yeah. So the Raboot comes up, and now this is where Xurkitree is a really good Pokemon, because it's doing 100 damage, which is taking out the Raboot. And now, I mean, the good news for Jack is if he's got the Welder and 2 Fire Energy, he's still got the KO. The fact that he's sticking Volcanion active suggests he does not have the Welder and double Fire Energy. Otherwise, he could get the KO with Arcanine while accelerating energy to probably the Volcanion, and he'd be in a really good position. So that double Custom Catcher was absolutely clutch from Pablo here. That was awesome. He's really put himself in a good position for this game. Now, we do see the Marnie coming down from Jack here. Now remember, this is both players shuffle a hand and put it on the bottom of their deck, and then Jack draws 5 cards and Pablo draws 4. Oh, that double Custom Catcher was pretty huge. Also, right, when you can only play 2 Custom Catcher in your deck, being able to play both of them at the same time is kind of awesome. So we see Great Ball coming down here. Let's Jack look at the top 7 cards of his deck and find himself a Pokemon. Is that Ninetales? I want to say that's Ninetales. He plays another great ball coming down here. I mean, he needs a score bunny, really. He's got to Salandit. Now, remember, Jack's deck is pretty good, as we've seen, and Arcanine is pretty powerful. He can do this with double Arcanine, but he doesn't have the second Growlithe out yet. It was a Ninetales. That's good. That helps. Means he's got gusting going on here. And that can be pretty huge. If his damage output is quite low, he can gust up things like the Magnemite on the bench. It also means he's going to be able to run Pablo out of energy by KOing the Xurkitree and then the Magnemite, or maybe Magnezone if it turns into one, and just run Pablo out. And it's got to be upsetting for Jack that he hasn't had a slightly better start here. Because if he'd have had, a slightly faster start, he'd have beaten Pablo by now. Of course, Pablo's also thinking he probably should have had a slightly better start. Hey-ho. So, we do get to accelerate some energy, which is fine. It gets more energy on the field. It puts Arcanine in a position to attack next turn. It puts one fewer card in his deck. And remember, he's got Salazzle for draw. Pablo at the moment is relying on the Oranguru, which does draw a card, but it also puts a card back, so it doesn't really get you a net card advantage, whereas Jack is discarding a Fire Energy and drawing 3 cards. Now, we do see an Electro Power getting dropped here, which is going to let Pablo get a one-hit KO on the Volcanion. But I'm still not loving Pablo's position. He's got the Zapdos, which is nice, but he's not actually building up much of a board to do a lot of damage. Zapdos isn't going to take down an Arc, maybe with Electro Power, but he's only got one of them left in his deck as it stands at the moment. And remember, Zapdos only does the extra damage if it came active this turn, not between turns. Oh, so Jack had Welder and double Cinderace in hand. That is a painful Professor Magnolia. Now, you've got to assume he's playing Rod. If he's not playing Rod, that is utterly horrendous, but you've got to assume he's playing Rod here. But losing both the Cinderace and one of your 2 Welder, he needs to draw an ordinary Rod to get those Cinderace back. I assume he's playing ordinary Rod. I assume everyone's playing ordinary Rod in this format. Yeah, I'm fairly sure he's playing 2 ordinary Rod. You kind of got to. It's one of the cards, because we're limiting players to 2 of each card, you basically have to play 2 ordinary Rod, or you are just going to run out of options pretty quickly. So, we do get double Prism Star, Victini and Ditto coming down. And that's good, because that Ditto could become an Arcanine. Has he got the energy? One would imagine he just discarded one. You wouldn't think he'd do that giving up an attack. That would be silly. And he's going to be in an alright position here still. There's the giant half. That's good. That's going to get him that energy as we go through. So now he gets to search for more energy, and now you'll notice one thing that Jack seems to be doing very deliberately here is building up a lot of energy in his discard. It appears like he's gunning for Victini. Victini does 20 damage for each basic energy in your discard. Now, this is the turn, basically. Because Jack could basically end it next turn. If Pablo is unable to evolve, and Jack is able to use Ninetales to gust up the Magnemite and KO it, that's basically going to be game. Because Pablo's attackers are either Zapdos doesn't hit hard enough, or Xurkitree needs a free energy, which he won't have. Now, does he have Electro Power? Would Electro Power even get the KO here? I'm not 100% sure it would. Because Zapdos is hitting 80. No, it wouldn't. Arcanine had 140. So it would actually have been 10 damage short. This is looking very, very bad for Pablo here. So Jack does get the other Arcanine out. And you've got to think he's going to try and gust the Magnemite up here. Because that would just take away Pablo's options. Now, he does need to discard 2 Fire Energy from hand in order to do so. But please do remember he's got the Giant Half there. So, the Giant Half would get him the 2 Fire Energy, which he would then be able to drop in order to gust with Ninetales. I'd take out the Magnemite anyway. Yeah, there we go. So the Magnemite comes active. Jack gets a KO and... yeah. So straight away there, that KO goes down. That was ever so slightly out of sync, but I think you'll forgive me. I believe it went ever so slightly out of sync just a moment or two ago. But I'm afraid that was their recording. It was not my editing. But it's fine. It's all working nicely. We got the KO. Honestly, at this stage, it really does just look like Jack's got this in the bag. Pablo just doesn't have the powerful attackers. He can bring Zapdos active this turn and take out the Arcanine. Fine. How does he take out the other Arcanine? I honestly don't have the answer to that question. I don't think Pablo can come back from here. I think this, unfortunately, is game for Jack. And given that it is game 2, that means that Jack will be heading on into round 2. Could be wrong. But unless there's something I'm missing, something I've not seen, I think this is going to be it, unfortunately. And that actually does mean we are going to have our first game decided for the second round. It means that David's Darkness deck will be playing against Jack's Fire deck. Still waiting to see who Josh will be playing in round 2. We'll have that game. Hopefully that game's going to be up on Wednesday. We're trying to do a game every 3 days, but remember, I am waiting on the players to play the game and provide the footage. If I've got the footage, you will have the games. That seems fair to me. So congratulations to Jack. Commiserations to Pablo. And that's the game. Check out the links in the description. Follow everyone's Twitter. Check out the YouTube. Check out the TCGPlayer links. All of that good stuff. Comment, like, subscribe. Hit me up on Twitter at @thewossy. You know the deal, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully you will be back in 3 days with the final game from round 1. Most important thing, as always, especially important now, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio. Bye!